Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew, and thank you so much for joining. I hope that you will like and share and subscribe. Make sure that you're liking the videos, ladies and gentlemen. You have to interact with the videos if the videos are going to do well on the platform. So make sure that you're interacting with the videos, you're leaving a comment, you're also engaging the videos until the end so that the algorithm can send the videos on. Very, very important that you do that. My topic for today is affirmed. Shocking report. Guyana gets only 2% of oil profits. Jamaica and Grenada next. The Caribbean is once again under the spotlight, but this time it's about oil. A shocking report reveals that Guyana receives only 2% of the profits from its own oil, while the West takes the rest. Now, Jamaica and Grenada are entering the oil exploration game, raising urgent questions. Will they face the same exploitation? This video connects to our previous investigation, The West Wants Our Gold with Fred Corbin, where we exposed how Western powers profit massively from Caribbean resources while the people see little benefit. The same pattern of exploitation, foreign control, and economic inequality threaten the region's oil future. We're going to look at how Guyana loses 98% of its oil wealth to Western corporations. Why Jamaica and Grenada's oil projects could be next targets. What this means for Caribbean sovereignty and development. Stay informed and share this video to expose the truth about Western interference in the Caribbean countries. Now, it's very interesting that we tend to love to talk about oil exploration and what is happening. And we think that because if oil is found in Jamaica, some people are suggesting that there's already oil. I've seen many YouTube videos online suggesting that oil is there and in great capacity. Now, Fred Corbin also did say that our region is oil rich. We're sitting atop of an oil rich region. And well, we have not been told that apart from Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana now, it has not yet been verified. This is not yet verifiable facts in terms of whether or not we have oil, yes or no. But is it the fact that we have to wait on our leaders to tell us whether or not these are factual or they are truths? Some citizens believe that we do have these things. But do we really have them? Has the government, the Jamaican government, for example, verified that fact, whether or not Jamaica does have oil? We don't know. But oil is the new gold, is the black gold, right? And many countries are seeking that. They're seeking to have that. In fact, the United States is seeking to have regime change in Venezuela because it wants its oil and gas. I think people understand that the main reason for which the United States desires to invade Venezuela or to have regime change is to be able to take over its oil and gas resources and among other resources of that South American country. Very important that we understand that. Now, having these resources, if the government doesn't have the resources to extract the oil, to refine the oil, it means therefore that we are not going to benefit. Or we would have to also have expertise in terms of negotiating to ensure that we get most of the profits or a good portion of the profits from these corporations who will be collaborating with Jamaica in search of this oil, and if it is found, to extract it and to refine it. We have to, but it seems to me that we are not going to be able to do that, because when they do that, they're coming with their equipment, they're coming with their workers, their expertise, so they are going to impose upon us what they want to impose upon us. And like Guyana, we might find ourselves in a same predicament in which we are going to only receive a measly, a paltry 2% of the profits that are made. So it means, therefore, that these people will, just like the pirates of yesteryear, will be benefiting from our resources, and we are the ones who are just going to have access to the crumbs, which we have been having access to for the most part of our lives anyway. Tourism is a similar sort of example in terms of the fact that you have these big corporations or these very wealthy oligarchs who go to the Caribbean and they build these large hotels and they send away the profits, and Jamaica only receives the crumbs from that industry. Yet we say that it is a very important industry to our development when it is not. It is not. And how many years are we to say that? And I just heard recently the tourism minister, Ed Bartlett, suggesting that he's wooing many more Spanish or other people from Latin America to Jamaica, as if that is going to be very important for Jamaica's development. Okay? But we have bought into these stories, just as we've bought into if we find gold, if we find diamonds, if we find oil in Jamaica, it means therefore that we're going to be converted into a rich country. But I have news for you. And many of you who are speaking like that, you have to read. And you don't read. You don't like to read. You don't like to investigate for yourselves. Okay? But if you were to investigate, if you read the papers coming out of Guyana, for example, and you listen to what the people are saying in terms of the fact that the oil revenues generated from the oil industry in Guyana really are not benefiting the ordinary Guyanese. The cost of living has soared tremendously since even the exploration of the oil, the fact that the oil has now been found, and you'd have thought that the government would have been able to subsidize Guyanese food, but the cost of living there has soared astronomically, even though most of the profits, 98% of the profits, are going into the hands of these oil oligarchs. Okay? So this is what we have to understand. Finding oil or any other natural resources, if it is not properly negotiated, which I am sure based on what we're seeing and based on many other things that has happened in the history of Jamaica, it will not be properly negotiated, because we have sold out ourselves to the highest bidder. And most of what we have in Jamaica do not belong to us. They belong to private investors. And that's what we're hearing constantly. We have to invite foreign investors, aka pirates. It's a new word for pirates, foreign investors. And they come and they sack everything we have, and we get only the crumbs from the table, which cannot develop us. The crumbs won't be able to develop us. The crumbs won't be able to build the hospitals and the schools that we are greatly in need of. The crumbs will not be able to develop the fragile infrastructure that we have there. Yesterday, I was watching a TikTok video, and this person, as many of us do, showcase these relatively nice looking houses in different parts of Jamaica. And I think this time it might have been in St. Thomas. And the houses were looking really nice, lovely homes from what I saw of the edifices. I don't know what the interior looks like. But the roads in which these houses are located, horrible, horrible, pothole-ridden infrastructure, road network. Okay? And this is Jamaica. And many of the houses that people are selling for millions of dollars, millions of Jamaican dollars, and sometimes millions of American dollars too. Yeah, the roads are very, very terrible, poor conditions. And yet you are selling, you have no shame to say that you have to make sure that the roads are maintained, that they're well paved, that everything looks, elevated and looks decent and civil. No, all you care about is just having a nice house in the middle of nowhere, poor road infrastructure, with no water, all of that stuff that perhaps people need to live decently and comfortably. Okay? So we have to look at this 2% that the Guyanese are talking about. But here is a report that was written up in the Guyanese paper, Kaitior News. It says 2% can't work. Former President Ramatar urges CARICOM to urgently draft model oil contract for region, right? Now, this is the view of the former President Donald Ramatar in an interview with Kaitior News. The former head of state touted the need for a model PSA to be adopted by CARICOM to ensure countries enjoy maximum benefits from their natural resources, particularly oil and gas. With Suriname expected to commence production activities soon, other CARICOM countries such as Jamaica and Grenada have joined the hunt for black oil, Ramatar said in a letter earlier this week. So in an invited comment, he told Kaitior News, instead, and I quote, instead of all of them getting ripped off like us, we should really get a strong investment regime so that everybody is on the same page. Oil don't come back, so we need to benefit as much as we can. 2% can't walk, referring to Guyana's low royalty rate. So Guyana is only, unquote, I should have said, so Guyana is only getting 2% of the profits from the revenues, from the oil and gas revenues. Only a paltry, measly 2%, right? This is what the government of that country has done to its citizens, okay? And yet still they're saying this oil-rich country. Now, what they do, they will add up all the aggregate with 98%, including the 98% that these oligarchs have made in the growth projection. And then Guyana is growing at a massive rate, 38% per annum and 10%, all of that stuff. And this growth is not an inclusive growth. It's an exclusive growth. And people are fooled by that. They don't understand that that growth does not represent the ordinary Guyanese person who is barely trying to make ends meet because of the high cost of living. Okay? So this is what we have to understand. This sort of craze, this sort of frenzy that I'm seeing in Jamaica about oil being found, whether or not it's there. Okay? If we do not have the requisite knowledge and skills to be able to negotiate at a level in which we are getting even 25%, 30% of the profit, then it doesn't matter whether or not oil is found in Jamaica, because the citizens, for the most part, will not be gaining anything significant. Maybe the cost of living in Jamaica will soar as it is in Guyana, because that is what is happening. That is what is happening. And we remember very well slavery and the fact that the raw material were actually, the raw material came from the Caribbean and from these slave colonies, sent back to these colonial powers, whether it's Great Britain or it's Spain or France, and then it came back to the Caribbean as a refined product sold at a very high cost. So it meant that the people living in the colonial powers bought it cheaper, at a cheaper rate. Whatever product was made there was refined there. And when it came back to the Caribbean, then we had to pay it at cost. That is how the system is set up. That is how the system is designed. Okay? And we cannot just jump on the bandwagon because everybody is saying that oil is the new gold and we're going to be rich. It's not going to happen. I don't care how many tall buildings, how many skyscrapers you want to see being built in Jamaica. It's not for you. And you will not be able, you and your children will not be able to afford that. Well, if you're on YouTube and you have other ways of earning income, perhaps a few will be able to do that. But for the most part, the normal man who is working a typical average job in Jamaica, earning Jamaican dollars, will not be able to afford any of these houses and homes. Okay? And we have to wake up and stop jumping on the bandwagon. Okay? Because this is what is the reality is. Now listen to what he's saying. The former head of state continued, and I quote, "Therefore, we need to have a fair share with all due respect to the investment and all consideration to the investment made. We are due to have a proper regime so that we can optimize our benefits." Okay? In this letter, in the letter to the editor, published on Tuesday, the former president wrote, and I quote, "One of the benefits that the leaders and the people of the region had hoped was that with the creation of CARICOM, the regional governments would have been acting together. This is very important since we are relatively small individually and in terms of our population. Therefore, acting on issues jointly would enhance the influence of the region internationally." Okay? So we're not together. We're not together. Okay? We're not together. And that is one of the reasons for which CARICOM was formed, but it's just a talking shop. And as Mr. Corbin has said, Mr. Fred Corbin, that it is carry God. It's no longer CARICOM. The days of CARICOM have ended rather, or are now dead. It's just there as a symbolic institution to make you feel as if they're doing something. And they feel important, going to meetings and articulating sentiments and projections and plans that they have, which are just empty plans. And empty barrels make the most noise, right? So this is what I want to say to you, that we might be the next target. Jamaica, Grenada, Suriname, all of these countries are in the phase of oil exploration, oil and gas exploration. And if it is going to be the same playbook that we see in Guyana, the future is there. All right, so it's time now for us to get our acts together. Is there any oil, any gas? We have to make sure that people who are experienced and who understands this geopolitical chess game will be there to say yay or nay. Very important that we understand that. So let me know whether or not you think there's oil in Jamaica. And do you think there's oil and gas in Jamaica? And do you think our economy will benefit from the proceeds of such? Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform. And tomorrow I'll be dropping a video with Fred Corbin on the full matter of the immigration, the migration, that's the free movement of citizens among different Caribbean territories. So stay tuned. See you in another one. Ciao.